Follow Maria's inspiring journey as she learns English to chase her dreams of a better life. From a small village in Mexico to intensive language classes in the city, Maria's story is one of hard work, determination, and hope. Watch as she overcomes challenges, builds confidence, and takes steps toward her dream of moving to the United States. This heartfelt story is perfect for anyone learning English, chasing their dreams, or looking for motivation. Don't miss this tale of perseverance and triumph. Maria's journey, learning English, chasing dreams. Maria sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the old, worn-out notebook in her hands. The pages were filled with scribbles, words, phrases, and sentences in English that she had been trying to learn for months. She sighed, running her fingers over the messy handwriting. It was hard. So hard. But she knew she had to keep going. She had to learn English. It was her only way out. Maria lived in a small village in Mexico. Life was simple but tough. Her family worked long hours in the fields, growing crops to sell at the market. Maria helped too, but she always felt like there was something more out there for her. Something beyond the fields, beyond the village. She dreamed of a better life. A life where she could provide for her family, where she didn't have to worry about money or food or the future. And she knew that learning English was the key to that dream. But it wasn't easy. Maria had never been to school. She didn't know how to read or write in Spanish, let alone English. The only English she knew was from the songs she heard on the radio and the few words her older brother, Carlos, had taught her before he left for the United States. Carlos had promised to send money back home, but months had passed and they hadn't heard from him. Maria missed him terribly, but she also felt a growing determination. If Carlos could go to the US and start a new life, maybe she could too. But first she had to learn English. One day, while walking home from the market, Maria noticed a small flyer pinned to a wooden post. It was faded and torn, but she could make out the words, "Clases de Inglés gratis." Free English classes. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. Centro Comunitario. Maria's heart skipped a beat. Free English classes? In her village? He couldn't believe it. She quickly memorized the details and hurried home, her mind racing with excitement. That Saturday, Maria woke up early. She put on her best dress, a simple faded blue one that her mother had sewn for her, and tied her hair back with a ribbon. She felt nervous but determined. This was her chance. She couldn't waste it. The community center was a small one-room building near the center of the village. When Maria arrived, she saw a group of people already gathered outside. They were all different ages. Some were teenagers like her, others were older adults. Maria recognized a few faces but didn't know anyone well. She took a deep breath and joined the group, standing quietly at the back. A few minutes later, the door opened and a woman stepped out. She was tall and elegant, with kind eyes and a warm smile. She introduced herself as Señora Garcia, the English teacher. Maria listened intently as Señora Garcia explained that the classes were for beginners and that they would focus on basic English. Simple words, phrases, and sentences that could be used in everyday life. Maria's heart raced as she followed the group inside. The room was small but clean, with a few wooden desks and chairs arranged in a circle. On the wall, there was a chalkboard with the English alphabet written in big, bold letters. Maria stared at it, feeling both excited and overwhelmed. She didn't even know the alphabet. How was she going to learn anything? Señora Garcia started the class by introducing herself again, this time in English. "Hello. My name is Señora Garcia. I am your teacher. Welcome to English class." She spoke slowly and clearly, and Maria tried to repeat the words in her head. "Oh. My name is Señora Garcia. I am your teacher." The first lesson was about greetings. Señora Garcia taught them how to say hello, goodbye, good morning, and good night. She wrote the words on the chalkboard and had the class repeat them together. Maria listened carefully, trying to mimic the sounds. It felt strange at first, but after a few tries she started to get the hang of it. Next, Señora Garcia taught them how to introduce themselves. "My name is," she said, pointing to herself. Then she went around the room, asking each student to say their name in English. When it was Maria's turn, she felt her face flush with embarrassment. She hesitated, then whispered, "My name is Maria." "Very good, Maria," Señora Garcia said, smiling. Maria felt a small spark of pride. She had done it. She had spoken English. The class continued for an hour, and by the end, Maria's head was spinning with new words and phrases. She had learned how to say thank you, please, and excuse me. She had also learned a few simple sentences like "I am from Mexico" and "I live in the village." It wasn't much, but it was a start. As Maria walked home that afternoon, she felt a sense of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, she could learn English. Maybe she could change her life. Over the next few weeks, Maria attended every class. She practiced every day, repeating the words and phrases she had learned. She wrote them down in her notebook over and over again until her hand ached. She even started teaching her younger sister, Anna, the little English she knew. Anna was only 7, but she was eager to learn, and Maria loved seeing her sister's face light up when she got a word right. But it wasn't always easy. There were days when Maria felt frustrated and discouraged. Some of the words were hard to pronounce, and she often forgot what they meant. She struggled with the alphabet, mixing up letters like B and D or P and Q, and there were times when she felt like she wasn't making any progress at all. One day, after a particularly difficult class, Maria came home feeling defeated. She sat down at the kitchen table and buried her face in her hands. Her mother, who had been cooking dinner, noticed her distress and sat down beside her. "What's wrong, Mija?" her mother asked gently. Maria looked up, tears in her eyes. "It's too hard, Mama. I don't think I can do it." Her mother smiled and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Maria, you're strong. You're smart. You can do anything you set your mind to. Remember why you started this. Remember your dream." Maria nodded, wiping away her tears. Her mother was right. She had to keep going. She couldn't give up now. As the weeks turned into months, Maria began to see progress. She could now introduce herself confidently in English. She could ask simple questions like, "What is your name?" and "How are you?" She could even have short conversations with Señora Garcia and her classmates. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. One day, Señora Garcia announced that they would be having a special guest in class, a man from the United States who had come to visit the village. Maria's heart raced with excitement and nervousness. She had never met anyone from the U.S. before. What if she couldn't understand him? What if he couldn't understand her? When the day arrived, Maria dressed carefully and arrived at the community center early. The man, whose name was Mr. Johnson, was friendly and kind. He spoke slowly and clearly, and Maria was surprised to find that she could understand most of what he said. He told them about life in the U.S., about the cities, the schools, and the opportunities. Maria listened intently, her dream growing stronger with every word. At the end of the class, Mr. Johnson asked if anyone had questions. Maria hesitated, then raised her hand. What is it like to live in the U.S.?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mr. Johnson smiled. "It's different," he said. "But it's a place where you can work hard and achieve your dreams. If you want to go there, you can." Maria's heart swelled with hope. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that she was one step closer to her dream. That night, Maria wrote in her notebook, "I will learn English. I will go to the U.S. I will make my family proud." She read the words over and over again, feeling a renewed sense of determination. The journey was just beginning, but Maria knew she was on the right path. She had a long way to go, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. She was ready to learn, to grow, and to chase her dream. And she knew that, no matter what, she would never give up. Maria's determination to learn English grew stronger with each passing day. The classes at the community center became the highlight of her week. She looked forward to Saturdays, not just for the lessons but for the sense of belonging she felt among her classmates. They were all there for the same reason: to learn, to grow, and to chase their dreams. Together they struggled, laughed, and celebrated small victories. One Saturday, Senora Garcia announced that they would be starting a new unit, Everyday Conversations. Maria's eyes lit up with excitement. This was exactly what she needed: practical English that she could use in real life. Senora Garcia began by teaching them common phrases like, "How much does it cost?" "Where is the bathroom?" and "Can you help me?" Maria practiced these phrases over and over, repeating them to herself as she walked home from class. But Maria knew that if she wanted to truly improve, she needed to practice outside of class too. She started by labeling objects around her house with their English names. A piece of paper with the word table taped to the kitchen table. Another with chair on her wooden chair. Her younger sister, Anna, found this hilarious and started calling everything by its English name. "Maria, can you pass the plate?" Anna would say, giggling. Maria couldn't help but laugh too. It was a small step, but it made learning fun. One day, Maria's mother handed her a small, battered radio. "I found this at the market," her mother said. "I thought it might help you with your English." Maria's eyes widened with gratitude. She had always loved listening to the radio, but now it could be a tool for learning. She tuned it to an English-speaking station and listened intently, even though she could only understand a few words here and there. Over time, she began to pick up more and more. She learned new words from songs and even tried to sing along, though her pronunciation was far from perfect. Maria also started reading anything she could find in English. Senora Garcia had given the class a few old newspapers and magazines, and Maria pored over them, circling words she didn't know and looking them up in the small Spanish-English dictionary she had borrowed from a neighbor. It was slow, painstaking work, but Maria didn't mind. Every new word felt like a victory. As the months went by, Maria's confidence grew. She could now hold simple conversations in English, and she no longer felt embarrassed to speak in front of others. One day, Senora Garcia announced that the class would be putting on a small play in English. "It will be a great way to practice what you've learned," she said. Maria's heart raced. A play? In front of people? The thought terrified her, but she also knew it was an opportunity she couldn't pass up. The play was a simple story about a family going to the market. Maria was given the role of the mother, and she had several lines to memorize. She practiced tirelessly, repeating her lines over and over until she could say them without hesitation. On the day of the performance, Maria felt a mix of nerves and excitement. The community center was packed with people, families, friends, and even a few strangers. Maria took a deep breath and stepped onto the small stage. The play went better than she could have imagined. Maria delivered her lines clearly and confidently, and the audience applauded loudly at the end. As she took her final bow, Maria felt a surge of pride. She had done it. She had spoken English in front of a crowd, and she hadn't been afraid. But Maria's journey was far from over. She knew that if she wanted to achieve her dream of going to the United States, she needed to become fluent in English. And that meant pushing herself even harder. One day, Senora Garcia pulled Maria aside after class. "Maria, I've noticed how hard you've been working," she said. "I think you're ready for something more challenging." She handed Maria a book, a simple story written in English. "Read this," Senora Garcia said. "And when you're done we'll talk about it." Maria took the book home and began reading it that night. It was a story about a young girl who overcame obstacles to achieve her dreams. Maria felt a deep connection to the character, and she was determined to finish the book no matter how long it took. She read a little every night, using her dictionary to look up unfamiliar words. It took her weeks, but finally she reached the last page. She closed the book with a sense of accomplishment and couldn't wait to discuss it with Senora Garcia. Around this time, Maria received a letter from her brother, Carlos. It was the first time she had heard from him in months. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope and read the words. "Dear Maria, I'm sorry I haven't written in so long. Life here is busy, but I'm doing well. I've been working hard and saving money. I haven't forgotten about you or our family. I'm proud of you for learning English. Keep going, Maria. Don't give up. One day you'll be here with me and we'll build a better life together. Love, Carlos." Tears streamed down Maria's face as she read the letter. Carlos believed in her. He was counting on her. She folded the letter carefully and tucked it into her notebook, where she kept her most important thoughts and dreams. From that day on, Carlos's words became her motivation. Whenever she felt discouraged, she would read his letter and remind herself why she was working so hard. Maria's progress didn't go unnoticed. One day, the village mayor visited the community center to observe the English class. Afterward, he approached Maria and Senora Garcia. "I've heard a lot about your dedication, Maria," he said. "I think you have a bright future ahead of you." He then announced that the village had received a grant to send one student to a language school in the city. The program would last 6 months and provide intensive English training. "I can't think of anyone more deserving than you, Maria," the mayor said. Maria was speechless. The language school? In the city? It was an opportunity she had never dreamed of. But it also meant leaving her family and her village for 6 months. That night, she talked it over with her parents. "This is your chance, Mija," her father said. "We'll miss you, but we want you to take it." Her mother nodded in agreement, tears in her eyes. Maria hugged them tightly, feeling a mix of excitement and sadness. The day Maria left for the city was bittersweet. Her family gathered at the bus stop to see her off. Anna clung to her, crying. "Don't go, Maria," she begged. Maria knelt down and hugged her sister. "I'll be back soon," she promised. "And when I come back, I'll teach you even more English." The bus ride to the city was long, and Maria spent most of it staring out the window, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. When she arrived, she was greeted by a representative from the language school, who took her to the dormitory where she would be staying. The room was small but clean, with a bed, a desk, and a small window that looked out over the city. Maria unpacked her few belongings and sat down on the bed, feeling a wave of homesickness. But she quickly pushed it aside. She was here for a reason, and she couldn't let anything distract her. The language school was intense. Maria's days were filled with classes, homework, and practice sessions. She learned grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and even a bit of American culture. The other students were from all over the country, and Maria enjoyed making new friends and learning about their lives. But she never lost sight of her goal. She worked harder than anyone else, staying up late to study and waking up early to practice. One of the most challenging aspects of the program was the weekly conversation sessions with native English speakers. Maria was paired with a volunteer named Sarah, a young woman from the United States. At first, Maria was nervous and struggled to find the right words. But Sarah was patient and encouraging, and over time Maria's confidence grew. She looked forward to their sessions and even started to enjoy the challenge of expressing herself in a new language. As the months went by, Maria's English improved dramatically. She could now read, write, and speak with ease. She even started dreaming in English. When the program finally came to an end, Maria felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had done it. She had become fluent in English. On her last day at the language school, Sarah handed her a small gift, a book of short stories in English. "You've come so far, Maria," Sarah said. "I know you're going to do amazing things." Maria hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." When Maria returned to her village, she was greeted with cheers and hugs. Her family was proud of her, and the whole village celebrated her achievement. But Maria knew that this was just the beginning. She had learned English, but her dream of going to the United States was still out of reach. She needed to find a way to make it happen. One day, Maria received a letter from Carlos. He had saved enough money to help her come to the U.S. and was working on getting her a visa. "It won't be easy," he wrote. "But I know you can do it. You've already come so far." Maria read the letter over and over, her heart swelling with hope. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready. She had worked too hard to give up now. As Maria stood at the edge of her village, looking out at the horizon, she felt a sense of peace. She had come so far, but her journey was far from over. She had learned English, but she still had so much to learn about life, about herself, and about the world. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain: she would never stop chasing her dreams. And with that, Maria took a deep breath, squared her shoulders, and stepped forward into the unknown.